Hey everybody, welcome back to Bibles on a Budget. I know it's been a good while since I've done a review, but I'm back with something very interesting, very unique. This is the Barbour Simplified King James Version Bible. This is a large print, which is fabulous because I don't know if you guys know this, if you've been watching the channel for quite a while. I love large prints, so this is awesome. But this is a very interesting Bible. This is technically not a new or unique translation, and I'll show you why. But before we talk about the Bible itself, let's take a look at the actual outside here. It doesn't come in a clamshell box or a two-piece box. It comes in a slip cover, and the Bible is coming out from the top here. So we're going to look at this real quick. So here's the side. So as you can see, SKJV, kind of really reminiscent of KJV, you know, those other types of Bibles that I also really love. And then again, the Barbour Simplified King James Version, another picture of the Bible itself, large print, Barbour. On the back, got some information here, so I'm going to zoom in if you don't mind, so you guys can check that out there. And I apologize for all the shaking. For some reason, my desk seems very heavy on a certain spots. I don't know. But anyway, so here it is. The King James Version of the Bible has stood the test of time. Now it's catching up with the times. Now, depending on how you feel about the King James, you may be like, oh yeah, that's great. Or you may be like, oh, that is absolutely disrespectful, horrible. Just no. That's not what we want. We want the King James to be the King James. You know, wherever you fall, God bless you. That's your opinion. But basically, it says that the Barbour Simplified King James Version Bible builds off of the familiarity and the trustworthiness of the King James Version while removing the difficulties of antiquated language and punctuation. Keeping all the original translation work of the 1611 Bible, the Simplified King James Bible carefully updates old styles that may interfere with your understanding today. And then it gives you some information here about what they did in the process. So it updates outdated verb styles. They are refreshed here. For instance, art. No one uses art anymore. Art becomes are. Let me scoot that over a little bit so there'll be more in the middle. Gavest becomes gave. Old forms of address like thee, thou, and ye are updated. These all become you. Confusing old terms such as wroth or diverse or divers are modernized. Pronouns of God such as he, his, him, you, your, me, and my are capitalized for clarity. There's quotation marks for spoken language. Long sentences are shortened by modern punctuation, and then there are paragraphs throughout. It doesn't really give any information about the text size or whether or not this is a red letter. It just kind of more talks about the differences between it and other King James Bibles, right? And then down here it says the Simplified King James Bible maintains the feel of the original King James while noticeably increasing its readability, bringing the trustworthy old translation into the 21st century. Now, there has been other translations or other projects, should I say, that try to bring the King James Version Bible into the 21st century, and one of them technically is called the 21st Century King James. Even though there's not a whole lot of similarities between this one and that one, you can watch my review on that Bible to find out more about that. But this one here is pretty unique. So let's zoom out and let's pop the Bible out. Without further ado, without further blabbing. So give me a second. This is going to take me, because this cover is kind of, I'm going to say it's kind of snug. So we're going to put the Bible cover off that way. And here's the Bible itself. Now, one thing, first off, that I really like about this Bible is I actually do like the cover. Now, I wish it wasn't two-tone, right? The feel of the cover feels great. The blue is cool and all, but I wish that this brown was throughout. I don't know what the decision for this was, but I wish that it was just straight up brown, moved across to the middle, and, you know, get rid of some of this perimeter stitching here, some of this extra little stitching, which is kind of cool. It's kind of nice, but yeah. Anyway, so this is their fake leather. It's kind of like leather soft. It's very nice. The brown feels kind of like the leather soft that Thomas Nelson used on the cheaper version of the King James Sovereign Collection Bible that I reviewed probably like a year or two back. So it feels really nice. I like it. It also reminds me of the leather, what did they call it? The True Tone of the ESV. A very similar color to that Spanish English Bible that I reviewed a few months back. It's very nice. The blue is really nice and smooth. Again, I just wish that this particular piece of cover was just extended. So anyway, so you got the cross there, we got the perimeter stitching, you know, it goes all the way around. There's the ISBN, if you're curious about that. Here's the spine, not super busy. SKJV here. Might be a little hard to see with my lights. Let me see if I can get that close to you guys. See me. There you go. SKJV. The Barbour Simplified King James. Let me actually turn that in a way that you can actually read that. And then large print, and then Barbour's symbol down there. Pretty cool. I do like the stitching all over it. It's pretty nice. And then here is the gilding. This does have thumb indexes, which I will say that I'm not a huge fan of thumb indexing, but when I've actually started using it recently with this Bible, I actually find why people like it. It's actually very useful, so it's very nice. So there you go. It's got brown head and tail bands, a combined bread, which is a combination of brown and head, apparently. And then you got this coppery brown gold ribbon, kind of reminiscent of the Crossway ribbons. Not super, not super thick, decent, but it's not great. All right, that's the outside. Now let's get to the content. Obviously, the outside's nice, but as Christians, we know that the content on the inside is more important, and that is the Bible itself. But when you crack it open, you got a paper paste down liner over here, kind of a nice little brown. You got the presentation page over here, and then first page is telling you what it is, and it is a red letter edition. Doesn't say on the box, but it does say here, red letter edition. Copyright page over here, and then contents, so the introduction to what this particular version is all about. The Old Testament, New Testament, and then down here, this is really cool. Let me show you this. Down here at page 643, I wish it was 1611. That would actually be kind of funny. But on page 1643, you get the Simplified KJV revision process. So it's going to show you what they did to revise the King James Version. And then on 1684, you get the dictionary and concordance. Okay. So one thing you might already notice is that this Bible has some pretty thin paper. You can already see a lot of ghosting through this. And that's, I think my lights are exaggerating a little bit, but it's still kind of a little excessive. Again, a lot of Bibles have this, the books of the Bible from the Old Testament, New Testament in alphabetical order. And then here is the Barbour Simplified King James. This is a page kind of explaining what they did and why they did it. So if you want to, if you can read that, go ahead, pause it, check it out. This is only the first page, and I'll show you the second page so you can see what that's all about. So there you go. Yeah, it's I'm not going to zoom in on it. If you want to check it out, you can, but there you go. So here's the Old Testament page. And what's really cool about all the books of the Bible, you'll see this right here with Genesis, you already kind of saw it, is that they all have these little introductions. This is not a study Bible. This is not a Bible that has like textual footnotes or anything like that, but it does come with these nice little simple introduction pages. Tells you what book it is, introduction, who authored it, and the occasion. So, you get a little information with the Bible, which is kind of nice. And then over here, you can see that this page is where you start with Genesis, Exodus, and Leviticus. There you go. So here is the text of the Bible. Now, the nice thing that I've noticed here, it doesn't say it on the box either, and I don't know if it says it on the website either, but it is line matched. So yes, the paper is very thin, but the line matching helps with the ghosting. The only time you really see like severe, absolutely annoying ghosting is here in like the gaps. Like you'll see just a lot of text, a lot of stuff stacked on top of each other, but the rest of it is not bad. It's line matched, so it's actually pretty readable. Now, when I first got this Bible, I noticed that a lot of the pages were sticking, and that's just because kind of the way that the gilding is. So when you do get your Bible, you will run across some sticky pages. So that's just kind of a part of it. But anyway, here's how it's set up. It's double column. You have little verses, bold chapter numbers, and bold pericopes, kind of telling you what these sections are all about. Page number at the top, and then first verse on this page and last verse on this page. Kind of pretty standard. So this is prose, this is narrative. So let's go to something like, we're going to go to Psalms. So let's see, and I don't know if you heard that. That's some sticking there. It's that crunchy noise, which I don't know why. For some odd reason, I really like that noise. That's just me. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and for your sake, I'm just going to do some editing magic here and pop over to something like Psalms. So here we go. Alrighty, and thankfully it really didn't take me too long to actually pop over to this. I was already really close. But here's Psalms, so I just want to give you an idea of what they do for it, and it's like the rest of the Bible. Now, Psalms is verse by verse, so it will not be paragraphy like the other parts, but it is still line matched. It is double column. You still have the bold names for each psalm. You have some information, as normally you do see that in Psalms. So there's that. And then let me show you how to use the thumb index. So again, thumb indexes over here off to the side. Here's one for Solomon, Isaiah, and Jeremiah. So what I typically do is I just put my thumb there and just start doing the thing, start turning, and there you go. It just, once I get past Ecclesiastes, it works better if the Bible is closed. So it's not really that great when it's open already, but there you go. So that kind of like, you can like, oh, that's where it is. Okay, let me put my thumb there, and then when I get there, my thumb will stop it. So yeah. So again, here is Song of Solomon. We're going to go to the New Testament so we can check out the red letters. So again, I'm going to put my thumb there and grab one page, sticky page there. So I'm going to, and I already kind of made a little boo-boo there. I think I ripped something, but it's okay. All right, so here's the New Testament. And like I said, there's one of those sticky pages. So just gentle, separate it. So like it says at the front, this is a red letter. So let's go to, here's chapter 4, but let's go to chapter 5, which has a lot of red letter. And I'll be honest, the red is not bad. The red is not bad. It is red. It's maybe like the kind of the orangish red that I see in a lot of other translations that do this. But it's not super pinkish, at least to me. If it's pinkish to you, well, that's to your eyes. But I think it looks great. I think it looks fabulous. I have looked at this Bible a little bit. I just have not looked at this. So this is kind of like my first impressions of it, of the red letter, and it looks really good. All right. So now that we looked at the front of the Bible, we're going to go to the back of the Bible. So to get there, we just got to go past Revelation, as you do. And I'm going to show you that revision process. So it's really actually a nice read. It's really cool. It's really interesting. So here it is. So let me pop back so you can kind of see what they're doing. So at the top it says the Simplified King James Version revision, and then it explains what it's doing. Its whole goal is to basically improve readability and understanding, but also to bring many of the elements of its predecessor with modern style. So here you can see, again, more of what it's doing. But if you go to the next page, and let me make sure that this is going to be, try to make sure that I'm not getting the page stuck here. Sometimes it's a little hard, but I'll show you what it's doing here. So these are all verbs. And with this, you do have the ghosting, but this is not the Bible, so I'm not too worried about it. But you can see on the left-hand side, on both columns, you'll see the King James Version 1611, 1769 verbs. And then to the immediate right of those words, you will see the actual updating. So let's look at some, let's look at some random thing here. So I'm going to zoom in. And let's see what we can find. So here, right here, we have abated, which now would be deducted, reduced, or weakened. Abhor is updated to hate or detest. Abide is updated to remain, withstand, stay, live, and accomplish, completed, experience, and so on. So that's for the verbs. So let's pop out again. And when we go to after this, because you're gonna have a section for verbs, and then you're gonna have a section for other. Let's see, what is this? I'm trying to remember. I went through this, but I can't remember what the sections are. Okay, so this one says here. I'm just gonna zoom in again. It says here updated, outdated or less common words. Changes vary by context as indicated by multiple words following some King James Version terms below, and not every instance of a word in the King James has been changed. And I will actually show you that in a second, actually in the New Testament, because I actually found this today before I even started doing this. So let me show you again some more examples. So abased becomes humbled, humiliated, cast down. Abjects become betrayers. Abode becomes dwelling. About becomes around or for. Above becomes beyond, more than, over. Abroad becomes out, into view, about, and so on and so forth. So again, the whole goal is to bring parts of this into the 21st century as much as they deem necessary to help improve the readability of the King James Version. So we're going to show you the last section. So again, these are just more words that are brought into the modern vernacular. And then again, this one here is for names. So make forms of names consistent with contemporary use. So these are kind of like how they are spelled now. So for instance, you'll have things like Abaya becomes Abijah, Akseldama, it kind of looks like Axel. I'll show you this right here, if you can see that. Akeldama becomes Akadama right there, and so on and so forth. And just gives you a whole bunch of those. And then allow for minor changes to sentence structures to conform with contemporary style. Examples, it gives you some ways that they reword things. So they may change hast thou to do you have, or be not afraid to do not be afraid. Now, if you are a King James purist and you just prefer the way that the King James flows, that will definitely bother you. As someone who's not a King James purist myself, I appreciate the way that the King James word things, because it just sounds really like Shakespeare-y and stuff. It's really cool. But, I appreciate the fact that they're bringing that stuff into the 21st century. And then after this, we get to the dictionary and concordance. And the nice thing about this is 2 columns, just like the Bible, big, bold names, and then they'll tell you some information about this person, and then where you can find these words and these people and all this stuff in the Bible. So now, after the dictionary concordance, which ends on the letter Z, we do have some maps here. The first one you see here will show you what the Holy Land looks like today. So you got Israel, Gaza and the West Bank, Lebanon, Golan Heights, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, and then here's some Saudi Arabia peeking through. And then over here we have one that shows the nations of the ancient world, and they actually have a legend down here. Let me see if I can bring this up to you. They have a legend down here that shows you that there are different cultures, highlighted different colors to show you who they descended from, and you can kind of see different colored names and stuff all throughout that one. And then the one on the right shows the tribal allotments of the tribes of Israel. So Naphtali, Asher, Zebulun, Issachar, East and West Manasseh, Ephraim, Dan, Benjamin, Gad, Simeon, Reuben, Judah, and then we have Moab and Edom and Ammon, other enemy tribes down there. On the next one, we have a map that shows the birthplaces of the prophets of Israel and Judah, which is really cool. So you can kind of see throughout here little boxes that show where they were born and the cities' names. And then over here we have the Holy Land during the time of Jesus. So here you got Sharon, Samaria, Judea, Idumea, Nabatea, and more of Nabatea over here, Perea, Decapolis, Galilee, and Phoenicia. It's pretty cool. And then here is a map about the arrest, trial, and crucifixion of Christ. So this just, I guess, in a sense, shows the progression of Jesus and his moving through the time of his, getting close to the time of his crucifixion. Sorry for tripping up with my words there. And then last two are Paul's voyage to Rome. So you can kind of follow Paul's voyage to Rome there. That, and then show you this last one here. These are the 7 churches of Revelation, and each church is marked with this little cross here. And you can even see where John the Revelator was. There's Patmos right there. That little guy right there. That's pretty cool. Now, let me show you an example of where they really slightly update a verse, but it's pretty similar. Let me show you. I'm going to go to Hebrews. Go to Hebrews, and I need to go the right direction here. I'm going to go to Hebrews chapter 12, and I really like this verse. This is Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11. Now, I'm going to zoom in real quick. Now, this is where the paragraph format kind of suffers, in my opinion, because parts of the verse get cut off and put into the next part. So let me show you here. So this is verse 11. Now, no, I'm going to bring it up here so you can see this. Chastening seems to be joyous for the present, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who are exercised by it. Right now, let me zoom out again. I am going to pop up the actual King James verse right here on your screen. There it is. So you can actually see how similar it is. You'll notice that joyous is not changed, grievous stays the same, and the word exercised is the same. Most translations would use the word trained by instead of exercised by. Some would use discipline instead of chastening. Joyous would become, I'm trying to remember other versions like the New King James. I can't remember exactly what they would be, but there you go. Okay. So let me give my honest opinion about this Bible. So I think that, first of all, obviously the outside of the Bible, fabulous. This Bible typically retails, and I'll show you here, typically retails for $45.99. Let me show you that right there. $45.99. I was able to get this Bible. I actually got this Bible for my birthday. So shout out to my mom. Thank you, Mom. I got this for, I think she got it for like 35 something. So that's pretty nice. There's part of this Bible that I think, I understand they had a reason to make it, but my thought is that if you are somebody who wants a updated King James, then I would say go with the New King James, go with the Modern English Version. If you are somebody who's looking for something that could maybe pass off as like a slight revision of the King James, check this one out. And obviously, if you're a King James purist, stick with your King James Bible. I actually have a review coming up for a nice little simple, I would say cheap, but it's still very nice King James Bible for you King James purists out there. So stick around for that. But for everybody else, if you're curious about this Bible, I'm going to put a link in the description to this Bible. This cover is newer. They used to have hardbacks that looked really cool, but the hardbacks had really thin pages, really horrible ghosting, and small print. These new covers have better, they're line matched, larger print. The paper is still thin, but it's not bad. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video by Bibles on a Budget. And remember, folks, the truth does not have to be expensive. See you in the next one.